Are you seriously considering a plan B after the election? Or have you always been considering a plan B, but now things are real and you're ready to take action? Are you ready for real change? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you how and why I left the US in 6 months. Okay, so welcome to the stream. What's up, family? I see you already here. Listen, if you want to take real change, real action, right? And you're ready for real change and you're curious on how to get started, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to share my story of how and why I left the US in 2020, and I did so in 6 months. All right. If you're new to the community, I know we're growing. My name is Ashley Cleveland. On this channel, I'm Ashley in Africa. I also have a YouTube channel, same, Ashley in Africa. And I share my journey of how and why I left the US and am living, doing business, and traveling on the continent of Africa. So welcome and join in. Are you serious? Are you seriously considering a plan B? Are you ready for real change? Put a number 1 in the chat. And you're ready for real change. You're feeling stuck and you just don't know where to start, right? I want to see you. Let me know who I'm talking to, right? Because I want to talk to people that are ready to take action. And I know that there are a lot of people. We all have challenges. We all have things. But I'm here to support you. And I want to give you strategic tools on why I left and how I left so that you can do it too. All right. So we see number 1s. Fantastic. That's what I want to know. Right. So if you're ready, I want to help you. Right. And so I'm going to share my story of why I left first. Right. So I left the US in 2020. I moved from Atlanta, Georgia to Tanzania, Dar es Salaam specifically. And I was fed up, right? I was living in a country at the time that was not in alignment with my values. Well, what did that look like? This work hustle culture, not sleeping 60 hours a week to earn respect from people that didn't respect me, having to work harder because I was a Black woman in America. It was just not in alignment with my values. It no longer was serving me. Children also weren't valued. I am a mom of 2 Black young girls, and I didn't want to have to tell them the things that I had to be talked about. So for example, in 2020, we all know what was happening in the world, but we all know the infamous name of Breonna Taylor, who lost her life at the hands of police while she was asleep in her bed. And I could not bear tell my, at the time, she was 8 or 9-year-old daughter, the story of Breonna Taylor. George Floyd was all over the news, all over the media, and it was something that the children were talking about even in their Zoom meetings as everyone was home during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, right? And so I couldn't bear to tell my daughter about Breonna Taylor. I just could not do it. And so in that moment, I realized that I was living in a country that was not in alignment with my values, and I had to take action. I also didn't feel safe. Right? I also just didn't feel safe. I was essentially had just had my daughter, right? So at the time she was 1.5 years old. But going back to my pregnancy, I sought out a Black OBGYN. I sought out a Black midwife. I sought out a Black doula. And I sought out Black prenatal care because the statistics in the state of Georgia were alarming. I was 5 times more likely to die during childbirth just because of my skin color. I didn't feel safe. How many of you are living in America and you can honestly tell me that you feel safe? If you can feel safe, I want to see your hand. I want to see a hand emoji. If you're a Black person living in America, or if you're a woman living in America and you currently feel safe. I didn't feel safe. So I was, off the heels of giving birth, right, to my daughter and trying to mitigate all of the risk of being a statistic. But I was also a family member to a sister who, was a victim of sex trafficking, which is the highest at the highest numbers in the US, in Atlanta, Georgia. We're seeing it all over social media. Black women are going missing at alarming rates. We post a picture of a Black woman being missing, and then we go about our day and post us having brunch. This is problematic, and it did not align with my values. I was over it. So this was why I didn't feel safe. I wasn't living in a place that aligned with my values. And I essentially had children who were not being valued in the society where I was paying taxes and literally living a life that I was committing to, my demise. Right? So it was also in the season of the election at the time. It was 2020. I was seeing all types of chaotic political positioning from my neighbors. It was bad. And I recognized that I no longer wanted that life. So I knew that I needed to take action, right? I needed to take action. Kelly B. Life says, you're a Black nurse, and before you take an assignment, you check to see if it's in a sundown town. The whole country is a sundown town, is the sundown town a few days. Literally. A few days ago? No, now sis. It's been a sundown country since we arrived there 500 years ago, and it will continue to be, right? You'd rather move where doula work is appreciated, right? So let's not get it twisted. Despite the election, the country has been the country. We're seeing quotes from James Baldwin, Malcolm X, W.E.B. Du Bois. These were our ancestors who are no longer living, who have been saying the same thing. So as these election results are coming out, we are reminded of the country where we're from. And so what is keeping us there? I know. Overwhelm, not knowing where to start, fear of the unknown, fear of what other people will think. I've been there. I have been there and I get it, but I did it, right? And I want to tell you how I did it in 6 months. Okay. So January of 2020, I was laid off for the third time in 5 years. I was working at a tech startup, and my opinion is that I knew the developers were actually located in Asia. And I believe that the founders knew what was coming to the Eastern world or the Western world. So I was laid off along with most of my colleagues in January of 2020. And fast forward to the shutdown, the lockdown, Breonna Taylor's murder, George Floyd's murder. I knew that I was living in a country that was no longer in alignment with my values, and I could continue to be depressed. I could continue to be anxious, which I was medically diagnosed with. And my doctor told me, listen, you're going to have to invoke radical acceptance. How many of you have heard of the term radical acceptance? Put a 2 in the chat if you've heard of the term radical acceptance. I have so many friends that are therapists. I love them. They're fantastic. But that lady told me that, I said, wait, so I need to radically accept that I live in a country powered by the supremacy of white people. I have to live with the fact that Black and brown women, specifically Black women, brown skin tone, are going missing at alarming rates and are being executed by the police. And that is okay. I have to accept that. In that moment, I knew that I was no longer going to accept it. All right. So I decided on June 2020. May 2020, that I was living in a country that did not align with my values, and I needed to make a choice, right? I needed to make a decision. I started doing my research, right? So how did I do this? I started doing my research. I needed to get my daughter's passport. So my daughter at the time was 1.5 years old. I needed to get her passport. I needed to get my 8-year-old at the time's passport. And I didn't have theirs. I had mine, but I did not have theirs. So that was number one. I had to get their passports done. The passports and the paperwork must happen. Then I started doing my research, right? Where did I want to go? I had spent an extensive amount of time in Jamaica. I loved Jamaica. I loved South Korea, right? But South Korea was handling the pandemic in a totally, a totally different way that I wasn't aligned with. Jamaica seemed to be pretty cool, pretty open. And I essentially talked to a friend, right? So I called up people that I knew in these countries. I called up a friend that was spending time in Jamaica, and she informed me that while she was in Jamaica at the time, she was planning on going to Tanzania in East Africa. I had only done some volunteer work for a company that was supporting women in Tanzania, but I didn't know where that was. I asked her, sis, where is that? Looked it up on Google, started doing my research, started uncovering the beauty of Tanzania, the leadership of Tanzania, the economic growth of Tanzania, but also it was a country that was open to Americans at the time. What I knew was that there were flights going to and from Tanzania, and at the worst case, I could always hop on a flight and go back. But as someone who had traveled the world, at the time I had been to about 15 countries, there was nowhere that I had traveled that I did not like to consider living there, at least for a short period of time, right? At least for the 90 days that I was going to be given access to that country with that visa. All right, so number one, I did my research. Number two, I did my research. Number one, I had to get my passport and paperwork right. The next thing was I had to have my money right. Okay, so this isn't something you can do overnight, right? You're not going to go from $0 in the bank and essentially moving abroad. That's not recommended. It's not sustainable. It's not going to work for you. Let me just put it out there. Okay. And so as someone that was an aggressive saver prior to, I had savings in place. I had retirements in place. I had cash insurance policies, cash life insurance policies in place already. And as I mentioned prior to this, right, I was medically diagnosed with depression and anxiety from working 60 hours a week, being a parent without much support, emotional, right? Emotional and physical support. And I was essentially burnt out. So when people are talking about burnout in these spaces, 9 times out of 10, if they go to get a medical diagnosis, they will be diagnosed with anxiety and or depression. I was diagnosed with both. I was a high performing depressed woman, but I was still medically diagnosed with depression. And because of that, and because of being financially astute in my youth, I was able to secure a private insurance policy that allowed me to take off and bringing me an income of about $3,000 a month. Okay. And so I had my money right. I didn't really have a plan, but I had income as well as savings that would allow me to explore at least what I needed for those 90 days of being abroad. So this is not applying for depression, right? This is about, 9 times out of 10, if you're living in America, you're depressed, right? Like maybe not 9 times, right? This is my own analysis, but there is no reason why we should wake up ever in the morning hearing a news result and cannot get out of bed. There's absolutely no reason we are facing the amount of mental health issues in America and the amount of trauma that Americans are experiencing with the ongoing gun violence, mass shootings, racism. These things evoke trauma, which unhealed lead to depression and anxiety. So for people that work with me exclusively, I do walk with them through this process. It's not something that I can tell you how to do because everybody's situation is different. But essentially, I recommend that everybody does therapy. But the truth is, if you're living in a society that is constantly keeping you on edge and making you sick, therapy is only helping you cope. You cannot heal in an environment where you are constantly being wounded. right? You are coping with therapy. You are coping with medication. You are coping with social media. You are coping with Amazon, right? And Shein and Fashion Nova and all of these things, right? So that's coping strategies. I don't teach coping. I teach radical pursuits of joy to heal you, right? That comes with courage, that comes with audacity, that comes with action taking. And that's not something we can cover in this live, but if you want to learn more and you're serious about taking action, you absolutely want to get in community with like-minded people doing that thing. So you're here. That's the good news, right? You're here. And if you've joined my email list, you're already in that community, right? Let me go through these comments because you guys are talking. Why Tanzania? Well, I talked a little bit about that at the beginning. Hey, welcome to the chat. Do my thing. Thank you, Anna. Mental issues as a Black man is real. And if Ashley can share insurance tips you want to know, go ahead and go to the doctor. First of all, go to the doctor. First step, right? As a Black man, go to the doctor. Tell them you are dealing with mental health issues and let them talk you through the process, right? But I essentially had a private policy that I purchased at the age of 30. But there are other ways around it. But like I said, I work with people one-on-one to be able to achieve that. What's happening here? What? Oh, there's a filter. That's strange. How did that just pop on? Oh, there it is. Went away. Okay, fantastic. Okay. Now let's go. Let's get back to it. Okay. So, paperwork, money, getting your money right, having savings was key. It was key. All right. It was key. So if you've been diagnosed with both, right? Depression and anxiety, you're taking medication, that is a disability, right? That is a disability. But also this is, again, like I said, you want to attend the Travel, Move, Do Business virtual conference for South Africa, right? Because like I said, community is a big reason. How did I do that? Well, I got in community. I didn't have a big community. I only had a friend that was there. But I started doing my research online, joining lives like this, Googling people that had moved abroad, listening to their content, getting their perspective, getting their feedback. But I essentially had to take huge risks, right? And so the Travel, Move, Do Business virtual conference is essentially going to give you a peek into what all of these people went through to be successful with the help of strategic advisors, immigration experts, and attorneys that help people execute on their goals of living abroad, investing abroad, traveling abroad, and doing business. Okay, so that is the advantage. I got in community with that online research. I didn't have a community like this. There wasn't anyone that I necessarily could completely relate to at the time. I mean, I was a professional woman coming from a high level career. I wasn't necessarily struggling. I wasn't rich, because you don't have to be rich to do this life. And that is also a misconception. But you do have to be ready to take action and desire real change, right? I'm sorry, but this is not a community of people that are going to pray the stress away. This is not for a community of people that think that they need to sit and fight the good fight until they have no fight left. This is a community of people that desire to live where they're treated best and are ready to take action. They just need a little bit of support along the way. All right, so let me talk to you about what options we have for people that are interested, right? And I will answer any questions as well about anything that I've shared, right? So for the Travel, Move, Do Business virtual conference, we have two ticket options for the event. We've got general admission and premium access, right? So general admission is perfect if you just want to get started. It will get you in the room. You will, be allowed to watch the summit for 2 days. I'll also give you my personally curated travel guide to Johannesburg, South Africa, which is where I currently live. And then you'll also, be able to ask your questions through the chat, right? But if you are looking for the ultimate experience, I highly recommend that you get access to the Premium Access Pass, where you will get exclusive Q&A sessions with me and our strategic advisors on how to hit your goals faster, how to accelerate your success. All right. There are going to be 2 bonus Q&As with our immigration partners, IBN Immigration. They are experts in immigration, right? So they are going to be teaching you how to properly and legally get permanent, or excuse me, long-term, not permanent. Well, permanent eventually, right? If you have an interest, but long-term residency in South Africa or some of the other countries that they support. And you're going to get all of the curated guides for all of my travels all over South Africa. So Durban, South Africa, Cape Town, South Africa, and Johannesburg, South Africa. Also, you'll be able to get access to those replays. So in the event that you cannot make the summit this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, November 16th through the 17th, you'll get access to those replays for a year. I think one of the best things about the replays is that repetition is key, right? So when you're getting information like this, you want to listen to it over and over and over, right? Because that's how you really get it. And then you can even share it with your friends. Like, I won't tell. It's fine, right? And you'll get some bonus extras, a guide to help you along the way, as well as getting the contact information for all of the speakers that have attended, that will be speaking at the event, right? So they can help you accelerate your success and you can work with them one-on-one. As I mentioned, when I work with people one-on-one, I advise them on how they can maintain their lifestyle by securing an income, right? Whether that's doing work online and or tapping into the cash benefits that they currently have that they may not even know that they have. All right. So these are the things that we're going to learn, that you'll learn more about during the Travel, Move, and Do Business virtual conference. But what I want you to know is that it's totally doable. You do not have to be rich to live this life, and you can get it done. Now, you won't be able to, I mean, not say you won't be able to. I mean, we can talk to you about how getting travel to just free your mind up from the stress that you're currently experiencing, to be able to expand on the options that exist, right? Because sometimes it's just knowing that there is options. And if South Africa is at the top of your list, well, you're in the right place, right? And you definitely want to join us at the Travel, Move, Do Business virtual conference. IG is giving me all types of filters, guys. I don't know what is happening. I don't know what is happening, but you guys saw me yesterday. I was on here with no makeup. Fine. So I don't know what's happening with this. So let me answer some questions. So Ledrick says, for a family of 7, will this be hard? Hard is relative. It's relative. Now, what you want to do is be positively optimistic. If you go into anything believing it's going to be hard, then you're right. But if you go into something knowing that it's working out in your favor, you're also right. Okay? And so that's the energy that I want you to come with. I know families currently of 8 that have made this move. I know families of 3, of 4, of 1, right? So this is about your mindset first off. And that's also what we're going to talk about. You've got to decide that the life you're currently living is no longer the life you want to live, and nothing else will do. Knowing your why is going to keep you fortified in this process, because I'm not saying it's an easy process. What I am saying is I'm creating an experience and an opportunity for you to be able to do something that was really challenging for me with a lot more ease, because I'm taking the resources, the time, the mistakes that I made over the course of 4 years and putting them into a 10-hour value pack summit for you to fast track your success, to be able to live a life that you dream of versus just accepting a life that you've settled for. All right? What other questions do you have? Do I have a list of items to make the process smoother? Yes. join the Travel, Move, Do Business virtual conference for South Africa. It's going to make it a lot smoother. You definitely need an attorney. You definitely need someone that can specialize in immigration. You definitely need someone that can specialize in tourism, right? That's the list, right? I have tons of free content on this feed on Instagram as well as over on YouTube. But if you're ready to fast track, you don't want to just sit on the sidelines anymore. You don't want to just dream the dream. You want to take action. Now is the best time. There's never been a better time to take action, right? Never. New Heights Constructions asked if I am available for a discussion. Absolutely. You can go to the link in my bio. All of the links to work with me are there. I work with people one-on-one to help them travel safely and successfully. I work with people on their expat success programs to be able to migrate successfully. And then I also work with entrepreneurs to be able to move their businesses, right? To expand their businesses to the continent. But if you want a value, some of the biggest value for your buck, join the Travel, Move, Do Business conference. It's less than it costs for an hour with me, and you're going to get 10 hours of time with not only me, but my friends who have done it, as well as the strategic advisors that I leaned on for support. So yes, you can work with me one-on-one, and I will be offering discounts to people. Hi, Ellie. I will be offering discounts to people that join the conference to be able to work with me in an accelerated fashion, one-on-one, to make their move, their travel, or their expansion of business to the continent, specifically South Africa for this summit, with a lot more ease. Awesome. All right. So what questions do you have? What other questions do you have? Ellie is in the chat. She also made a move to the continent. I think she's in Senegal, right? This is something that you can totally do. You've been looking for remote work to support yourself in Ethiopia. I don't recommend remote work because the truth is, if you want to move abroad, you're looking for freedom. And freedom is not connected to a job. Freedom is only connected to creation, which ultimately is the source and the foundation of entrepreneurship. So I'm not an advocate for it. And if we look at the job market currently, it is at its all-time low. It's lower than it's ever been historically in the history of the United States. I think since like 1980 or something, right? So I'm exaggerating, but I am not an advocate, and I won't be talking about remote work because ultimately it's not sustainable and it's not in alignment with my values, right? So I'm not going to be teaching you anything that I haven't done or wouldn't do. Everybody that is on the panel, I've either worked with them, they've worked with me, or they've been a part of my journey. Anna says, am I a mom? Yes, I am. I'm a mom of 2 daughters. Right? And freedom is our birthright. Not only is it nice, it's our birthright. Whisper says, you own a cleaning business here in the States and you're a single parent. How will I be able to move? Well, how did you start your cleaning business? There. You have a story to tell. All of us have a story to tell. Can you teach someone else how to start a cleaning business and scale it successfully? Right? Do you receive income from the other parent? So the other things that we do, we won't be doing this absolutely, right? You said absolutely. So you've got income generating skill that you can take anywhere and you can earn from anywhere, which is what I do in my business. So I won't be teaching that specifically at the Travel, Move, Do Business virtual conference. But essentially, I think it's really important if you have a desire to move, you need to know how much it's going to cost you. So I'll be working with people. I'll pick 3 people from the premium access to be able to tell them exactly how much it's going to cost them for their first year in South Africa. Right? So you need to know how much money you're spending now. What is your cost of living now? Right? Because we are going to match that quality of life and actually exceed it. That is the T. We're going to exceed your quality of life by living abroad. But we want to make sure that we understand what you're bringing in and what you're spending so that we can determine how much money you absolutely need. And then if you want to work with me post the conference, I'll be teaching people especially how they can take their skill, their passion, help other people while earning an income from anywhere in the world. Don't get boxed. Would my travels and entrepreneurship be different if I were a single woman with no children? Yes, possibly. I can't really answer that because I am. I would say that I probably wouldn't have moved if I didn't have children. One of the biggest things that people say is I can't move because I do have children. They're concerned that their children won't adjust. And in fact, children do adjust easier than adults. But one of the biggest things is if you have children and you are living in a country that does not value children, and you know this because of the education system. You know this because of the amount of time you actually get to spend with your child. You know this because the cost of childcare is so expensive that you can't afford to have childcare or in-home support, right? You know this because you're seeing the increased required vaccinations for children, and we're also seeing increases in things that are affecting them, mental and cognitive challenges, right? So if you're living in a country with children that you know doesn't value children, it is more important than ever to explore life outside of that country, right? So childcare is affordable here. I have in-home help for my daughters, right? Education, high quality education, safe education is available here, right? Activities for children. Bringing your children out to a restaurant is not looked down upon. Bringing your children to events is not looked down upon because this is a society that values children. So would my mission be different? Possibly, because I probably wouldn't have the same level of urgency, right? But I do what I do because I desire to be a full-time mom, right? I desire to have late mornings with my daughter and be home with her more than I'm not. And I desire to show her that life is what you want it to be. You are the co-creator of your life, and you get to choose what that looks like. For both of them, they drive my mission because the world that we were raised in is not the world that our children are growing up in. And if we think that we can do the same thing with our children that was done with us, we are setting our children up for failure. And I've seen it. I'm seeing it now with my friends that have adult children, that they did exactly what they wished was done for them or that they thought they were supposed to do. And they're all really struggling with those decisions. And so it was a radical decision that I'm grateful that I made. And essentially it does drive me, right? But I wouldn't change it for the world. All right. So what other questions do you have? I'm completely a degree in. Awesome. So this is possible. And if you're serious about taking action, when this live, I'll post this live, go ahead and comment if you're catching the replay. Comment South Africa to get the link to join us. As I mentioned, if you're ready to take action, join us. If you just want to take your time and get some information, join the general access conversation. But if you're serious and you want to take your experience up to the next level and have the ultimate online experience so that you can work with me, talk directly with me and other experts and advisors, you want to get the premium access pass. So go ahead and comment South Africa in the comment, and you can get access to the link to join us live this weekend, November 16th and the 17th, Saturday and Sunday, right? From 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? So if you found value in this, go ahead and like it and share it with someone else who would find value in it as well. And for those that share it, I'll have a special treat for you. I see you guys commenting South Africa. I need you to comment. I don't think I'll be able to send you the link. on the live, but you can go ahead and comment once it posts. All right. And you will get the private link directly in your inbox. And if you share it, I'll be able to give you a sweet little treat in the form of a promo code. All right. Thank you so much for watching this live. I can't wait to see you this weekend at the Travel Move Do Business virtual conference. Until the next video, guys. Bye.